the Operations and Planning Committee meeting, March the 10th, 2021. The invocation will be done by Mr. Amos Berry, the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Sam.
Recording started.
Let's pray, please. Our gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day that you allow us to assemble together here to take care of the business of the Solid Waste Authority. I ask that you give us the wisdom and the knowledge to do the best job that we can possibly do. I pray, dear Lord, that you put your hands around every employee here and hold them in your bubble of love and keep them safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved, and do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have 5 different things on the agenda today. The first one is going to be an update on the road in 1187 Borough Area Project Update. Mr. Bell?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, we have Garrett Moore here today to give us an update on the project, on the 1187 Road and Bridge project, and I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Craig to do the update.
Thank you, Mike. Ms. Cecil, do you have a clicker, or do you want me to just tell you when?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, while you're giving that to us, is it okay? Would you rather us wait to the end, or if we see something, do you want us to go ahead and stop you and ask questions?
Just jump right in.
Jump right in. All right, board members, if you see anything you need to know, jump right in. And this young man, where would you? Over there.
Okay.
And if he can't tell you, I know that young lady in the back can.
Thanks, Mike. Again, my name is Craig Fortner. I'm the project manager with Garrett Moore, overseeing the Class 2 landfill expansion. Go forward one, Ms. Cecil, please. Give everyone a reminder, we broke the Class 2 landfill development into 2 separate projects. Project number 1 is the 1187 Bar Area Development and Landfill Infrastructure Improvements Project. Project number 2 is the 1187 Bridge and Bar Area Backfill Project. Project number 1 is 2 parts. The one part is development of Bar Area number 5 down here in the southwest corner of the 1187 site. About 2 miles of landfill haul road over to the future bridge location. And on the other side, other half of the project is the landfill infrastructure improvements, where we have an improved access road along here and associated stormwater infrastructure. Give you a quick summary of the contract. The contractor is King Construction Services Incorporated for a contract price of $3.1 million. Notice to proceed was issued on November 2nd, 2020, and this contract substantial completion, because there's 2 halves of this job, we had 2 separate targets we're trying to hit. The initial was the landfill infrastructure. Substantial completion was January 30th, 2021. And the upcoming substantial completion on the 1187 Hall Road, unadjusted at this point, is May 20th, 2021.
They met that 1/30/21 date.
Correct.
On the first section.
Give you a summary of the work in place on project number 1. As Mike mentioned, the landfill infrastructure portion is substantially complete, and what that means is the job can be used for its intended purpose. So we have 2 new stormwater detention basins, associated stormwater ditch and pipes, 100 linear feet of heavy-duty landfill access road. All disturbed areas have been seeded and mulched, and as a result, we did our substantial completion walkthrough on January 22nd, 2021, so King finished about 8 days early on this half of the project. These pictures were taken about 8 or 9 days ago, but it shows this is the improved access road. This is the closed East Hill on the landfill. Right over here would be the active subtitle D landfill, class 3 landfill. This is new sediment detention pond SB 003B, which was included in this job. And you can see the improved access road, really neat and tidy ditch work, and everything has been seeded. If you go out there today, it's substantially greener than this looks. Moving up the road, this is coming from the bridge towards the landfill entrance. So this is closer to where we are now. This is pond 003A, also constructed by King. And you can see kind of over here, this is our future class 2 landfill waste grades in this area. On the other half of other side of Sterrett Swamp, we've got the 1187 Bar Area Development at Hall Road. As of today, the Hall Road corridor has been completely cleared and grubbed. Bar Area 5 has been cleared and prepped, including rim ditching. Wetland crossing number 8, which is the nearest of 5 crossings to be built with this project, is complete except for final pavement section. And wetland crossing number 6 has pipes installed with initial backfill. All right, this is the Hall Road corridor. Way down here at the bottom, this is wetland crossing number 8. This is effectively the start of King's project and Hall Road development, right down here. And you can see this road snaking up here all the way back up to landfill right there. And it's about 2 miles, 10,000 feet or so. Next page. This is an aerial shot of Bar Area number 5. You can see that rim ditching has begun. King has installed a temporary access road. At the date of this picture was complete about 2/3 of the way through the bar area, and has since been completed all the way through the bar area, and we are sitting on go, waiting for Phil to proceed across crossing number 8 and over into bar area number 2 and the rest of the road going over towards the bridge. Picture of wetland crossing number 8. We have a gallery of 5 pipes. Each one of these wetland crossings is a little different based on the hydrologic and hydraulic needs of each location. This is the most substantial of the 5 crossings to be built, and I'd say in this picture it's probably 75% complete. As far as project number 1 contract status goes, as I mentioned before, the landfill infrastructure is substantially complete. King has experienced 17 total adverse weather days through February, so that's November 2nd through February. 5 of those adverse weather days are built into the contract, meaning for those first 5 adverse weather days, they are not eligible for an extension. Therefore, 12 adverse weather days would be eligible according to the contract. And taking that to the calendar, adding it to the end of our contract substantial completion date, the tentative adjusted substantial completion, recognizing the adverse weather delays, is June 7th, 2021. And there are no change orders pending on this project. Any questions so far?
Just in general, I know we had an awful lot of water. What were some of the problems that you had dealing with some of that, and were they normal, or? I'm sure you took care of them, but I'd just like to know some of the problems that did come up and what you had to deal with.
Sure. On the landfill side, so in this picture, we're talking about from here to here roughly. They were somewhat slowed. I would say they overcame the challenge very well of dealing with the adverse weather. And I mean, everybody knows it's been abnormally wet since November, since we started this project. King took some additional measures in terms of temporary ditching, diverting water from their working areas until they were able to get kind of up and above the ground up and out of the ground, so they can get up high and dry and proceed with construction. This side of the project went fairly smoothly. On the 1187 side of the Hall Road, much lower elevations, less relief. There's really nowhere for the water to go. Even with all this dry weather we've had to date, the last several days, they're still being affected by wet conditions over there. The stair swamp is very high, and there's just nowhere for the water to go. But they're doing their best in terms of diverting water off of areas that are flooded in their way and preventing water from running onto them to the extent possible. It's just really hard on the 1187 with it being as flat as it is.
Well, if they have any alternative suggestions and that kind of thing, I'm a firm believer in spending more money up front to make sure you don't have a problem, and to cause a problem. So if that becomes something you would like to discuss with the board, I'd like you to feel free to do so.
I appreciate that, and I understand. We had anticipated some difficulty. We didn't anticipate this much rain, but we did anticipate difficult conditions, and our design incorporates some features that account for some of that. So I think what we've seen on the landfill side, the practices that the contractor had in place over there proved successful, and I think once they can get going on 1187, they'll prove successful over there too. I certainly appreciate that.
Thank you.
The ponds on this side, they didn't get any place close to being full. I mean, it's got new style skimmers in it, but, I didn't see them full a time. This side, now the other side, like I say, the Beaver Pond backs up to the start of our road, and that's 60 acres of nothing but beaver dams and ponds, and we worked on that too with the private landowner.
To get rid of the beavers
Yeah.
and the dams so they can flow correctly.
Yeah, and the water, I think, is doing much better now that we've cleared them out. They'll be back, but
Well, any questions? Okay, thanks, sir.
Continuing on, project number 2 is the 1187 Bridge and Borrow Area Backfill Project. And the contractor is again King Construction Services for the contract price of $11.1 million. Notice to proceed was issued on January 12th, 2021, and the contract substantial completion is March 31st, 2022. All right. Again, this board packet was prepared a little over a week ago, so I have additional information to offer, but as of the date of this presentation was prepared, summary of work included staking in the initial preparation of the 20-acre on-site borrow area on Tract D, crane mobilization for bridge construction, bridge end vent 1 construction, interior vent 1 construction, and sediment pond berm backfill. And I'll go through these in more detail as to what that all means here in the next couple of slides. But I will say that in the last 8 days, a tremendous amount of work has gone on. It's not reflected in the pictures. So when we're done here, if you're curious, I'd encourage you to go out and take a look. It's starting to really look like a project now. All right, bridge end vent number 1. In bridge construction language, a vent is simply a structure supporting the span of the bridge. So this is end number 1. Beneath where the crane is sitting here is a group of 7 H-piles, a reinforced concrete pile cap, and you see some guardrails here, and then riprap slope protection below. And looking forward, so standing on the landfill side and looking towards 1187, the next support or vent is interior vent 1. And you can see they have the, they call it a template that allows them to set each pile in the proper location at each vent. So at this time, they were just getting set up to drive bent one circular piles.
And they completed that today.
It's,
They completed the second.
as it stands today, bent number one, interior bent number one is complete, and they have set the initial 50-foot spans to reach out to bent number one. Tentative schedule is Friday to walk the crane out to the end of the first 50-foot span and be able to set bent number two. So the first 50 feet of bridge are effectively complete as of this afternoon. On the earthworks side of things, King has begun constructing our new stormwater detention basin here. This is partial. This is the far northern extent of it, and once everything is complete, the southern end is going to come down, approximately where these pumps are sitting now. This picture also shows the dewatering effort that's ongoing to get the bar area dewatered so that backfill can proceed. Contractor has two 12-inch diesel pumps with a silent enclosure on them, and they're operating between 1 and 2 10-inch electrical pumps simultaneously to dewater the backfill area. Again, this picture's 8 days old. What's markedly different now, the water's probably down another 10+ feet from this picture. The contractor's already moved into their initial phase of backfill on the south end of the bar area, backfill area. So they're already placing fill to begin establishing the Class 2 landfill base grades on the southern half of the project.
So one of those ponds are empty. There's kind of like 2 ponds out there. One of them's empty. This one's not. The one beside this one is empty.
They already putting dirt in the other one, it's backfilling.
Just to give the status update, the contractor has experienced 12 total adverse weather days through the end of February. As we talked about in the run-up to this project, we have a large number of adverse weather days built into the contract. Specifically, we have 133 days built in, meaning contractor has to suffer greater than 133 days of impact from adverse weather before he is due an extension. So we're well within our anticipated adverse weather on this project. So no adjustment to substantial completion for reason of adverse weather is due at this time. All right. During construction of end bent number one on the bridge, we did encounter a condition that we needed to stop work and mitigate. Some explosive gas was detected during the pile driving operation, during the initial pile driving operation. Initial mitigation attempts were unsuccessful, and this consisted of waiting it out, seeing if the area would vent on its own. When that didn't work, we tried to pack dirt around the base of the piles and see if that would help. Both cases, as soon as they started to drive piles again, it was unsafe gas levels were observed again. So the decision was made to excavate approximately 1,000 cubic yards of material around the pile group and replace it with a fat clay which would inhibit transmission of gas through the vibration of the pile driving operation. Was successful. Fortunately, because King is the contractor on both of these projects, we had a line item in project number one that King was able to apply to this work. So we had a fair unit price up front for them to contemplate the additional work to be done. It was a pretty clean and relatively quick solution to a problem that had shut the job down for several days. Because of the delays associated with the shutdown, the contractor is due 7 calendar days extension for the delay. So what does that mean as far as contract adjustments? The net contract price adjustment of about $22,000, which includes the extraction and resetting of 6 of the 7 H piles in the ground at the time, which amounts to 300 linear feet of piles. Pulled out, set them aside, put them back in. and then to excavate and replace 1,000 cubic yards of material. Recognizing the delay of 7 days, the revised substantial completion is now April 7th, 2022. That is the project 2 summary, so I welcome questions again.
Well, not any questions. I do appreciate you feeling comfortable to be open and share all of this with the board and what was done. None of us, I think, ever thought we would do this kind of amount of work or earth moving without problems here and there. That just comes with the territory. So I do appreciate y'all letting us know about that and working through those options that you had and doing it as quickly as possible and making sure that this lived up. I'm sure DHEC and everyone has looked at this
Yes, ma'am.
to make sure we're where we need to be, because I don't mind going above DHEC standards. At times, I think that needs to be done, and this is a project that is necessary, but we frankly need to keep it as environmentally friendly and as safe as we can, even if we go above and beyond that. So I will say again, for me, I definitely want to know the problems, the resolutions, and where we are, and if we need to make certain adjustments and different things as it comes up to do something better, or that it might work out better in the long run. So I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Gentlemen, y'all have any questions?
I appreciate that too.
I'd recommend that if anybody hadn't been out there to see what's going on in the board here, I asked Mr. Knight if he'd carry me out there and show me, and he did, and I was really impressed with what I saw.
It always helps me to see something much more than, that's a help, and talking about it is, but I need to look at it to really comprehend everything that's going on with it and how it affects the environment and the things around it, and I think he's done a good job. Mr. Besant, do you have any comments? I know you've been out there and critiquing their work, and
Well, I think we're moving along well. The weather has definitely hurt the operation somewhat, but it's affected everybody throughout the county. The weather's the main challenge we've had. I think our working with and our contractor being able to give when he needed to give has made it a lot easier, because we've asked for some things for him to do that wasn't necessarily in black and white. He's come up with suggestions that's actually helped the daily operation of the landfill.
right,
Not related to the landfill, but like he offered to, rather than us be digging in a pit that he would be digging in as well, he came up and said, well, I'll load all your trucks for you. But what that did for the solid waste authorities, I don't have to have a hoe down there loading my trucks.
right.
So he's agreed when he's loading, that he will load all of our trucks. And we didn't ask him for that, he offered it. So he is given and stuff to make this thing work good, and I'm real pleased.
Reese, let me say something based on your comments about it being a sensitive area. First project we ever had here, I told in the pre-bid, to the contractors and everybody, I said, bidding on this project, and if you get it, you're gonna be in the goldfish bowl with us. Everybody's watched, everybody's concerned, everybody knows a better way of doing something. Our direction, instructions, we did on this deal, and I heard some of y'all loud and clear about 22 and 31. The contractor made the statement in a public meeting about the violation of the wetlands. That was just a matter of doing business. And I think this group right here will tell you before I say it, that was not an option in these projects. We'll just trudge across here and tear it up, and we'll pay the cost to get it done. That was not an option. Stated that in the pre-bids, and we still talk about it on site with the workers. So I think the project's going extremely well. We have had some rain days, and what I want to point out, project right here, that property is what's called a beaver pond. You can see all this flows into it. Whenever it flows here. This thing in here had 5, 6 foot high beaver dams. And it's been sold. My understanding, the Chinese bought it. At the appraised value. But, in talking, we got Brigman in there to take a look to see what could be done to help drain the area better. And, they talked to the property owners. And they said, anything you can do with the beaver to move them out, get our property drained. When we started pulling them out, I went every afternoon and every morning through the blueberry farm, see how those ditches were performing based on the water going through them. And they never did get up over the road or anything, and on the tail end of it, you couldn't even tell additional water was coming through. So,
Good.
and
Maybe beavers are a delicacy in China, and that will solve our problem.
Also, I want to add that, we have had a stormwater inspection.
Okay.
So DHEC came out and done a stormwater inspection on us, here a week or so ago, Danny. And, they didn't find anything wrong. So they thought it looked good. What we were doing, what King was doing looked good, but they showed up to do a stormwater, inspection.
somebody reported us to county stormwater and to the state.
Okay.
So, they came out and did the inspection, and that part had nothing to do with the construction side.
Oh, okay, it had something to do with another area.
Yeah, so, but they said
We didn't find any problems on site.
everything was good. We're moving along.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, if I could please.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
This is where the bridge is.
Yeah.
Where they were working is in here. We certainly didn't expect to encounter gas this far away from the edge of the old landfill. And I would like to commend the engineers and our contractors for responding responsibly to the gas situation. It could have been a very dangerous situation, and they reacted responsibly, and we were very fortunate. No one expected to find gas that far, but that tells us that the limits of the previous landfill went farther than we ever anticipated. But now we know to be extra careful. We shouldn't encounter it further because we're getting further and further away from the former landfill site.
Into the landfill.
But
And this guy was right. It was detected in here, but it wasn't detected anywhere 2,000 feet of road around there. New ponds, 2 new ponds and everything, but when you drove the pilings, it broke through a section that held gas, so, we worked it out, and as I told the committee, the board, when we presented the change order to the board, that the material had already been bid. We knew the backfill material, our yards and everything, so we, you're not held hostage with a change order.
Yeah.
We need another 1,000 loads of dirt. It was in the bid package. It'd be our call. But I think we're moving along well.
I'd like to say, we do our best to make sure that what is, the work that goes on here and the buildings are safe for our employees. That's extremely important to us. it's extremely important to me that you and your crews are safe, and anyone that wins a bid here. Huge thing is safety. So whatever it takes, if we encounter these kinds of things in any way whatsoever, when you're looking at it, please keep in mind that the biggest thing to us is that whomever is out there working on this property is safe. Even if it takes another day or two of what we're doing, that needs to be done.
Yes, ma'am, understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you coming very much. We appreciate the work you're doing. We thank you.
You really should take a look. It's an impressive site today.
Yeah.
Craig is real proud of his work, can you tell?
Yeah. And when you write your.
And he should be.
When you write your memoirs about everything that you've learned here, we like to read that too.
Okay.
And I'm sure you have. And I'm sure there are things at each project that we do, there have to be things that we can see that we can do better or do differently or handle in another way. Because that's very important. It's very important to me to get here. So we thank you. Okay.
So, we have a gas project, landfill gas project expansion. We actually separated it into phase 1 and phase 2 projects. And if you go up on the hill, our first project is related to the C&D waste. And we broke it up in 2 phases in order to try to move the project along as we presented earlier. And, so we could try to get part of it done fairly fast, to go to the problem areas that we had. The contract was awarded to B&M Excavating Company, for $794,720, and they were the lowest qualifying bidder. That project is currently underway. They'll be working through the weekend to get some areas done. They got to dig up a couple of our roads to get some piping across, and they will be working on Saturday and possibly on Sunday to get the road network built back before Monday morning. So that project is currently moving, and we gave them a notice to proceed on March 8th, which is this past Monday. So, and they're on site, they're working, and they'll be working 6 days a week until it's completed. We figure around 45 days this project should be completed. These areas that they're working on is the areas that was vending the most gas. So, we feel like it will greatly reduce our odors when they're completed with it. So they're in the C&D, but we're also doing one section in the MSW, which is the part that we have got that is putting out the most gas because it's a new area in the landfill. And they're currently working on that as well. So that project will be done. Today, we had a mandatory pre-bid conference for phase 2. 8 contractors on the pre-bid virtual conference, and our bids will be received on March 24th. So that contract should be awarded without any unforeseen things somewhere around the first week of April. But a completion date in June. So by June, as I presented that night to the board, when the gentleman come and spoke about odor, that sometime in June, May, June, we should be completed with this project. So those are ongoing. I'll be glad to take any questions you have on those. They're digging trenches, and you may hear some odor issues because once they start digging in that stuff, the gas really comes out of it, and the odor's gonna get greater. Of course, we'll run our misters as much as possible to keep that down, but it's always is when they start drilling and stuff to have a lot of odor coming out. We have asked them to put vacuum around the wells as they're digging them. So there'll be a pipe around the well that has a vacuum on it to try to collect as much gas as it can as it comes out.
Were they digging this past week? Have they already
No,
started?
they just started this morning, Monday.
Okay, because when.
When they started construction, they just started digging this morning, first time they've actually done it.
Okay. Well, we do need to do whatever we can to keep the smell down as much as possible, because I'm sure you're right, it's going to be worse until they get through.
So what they're gonna be doing is basically opening up the hill.
Yeah,
And if they're putting pipes in it and digging ditches and stuff like that, they will open up the hill, and so that's gonna be the easiest way for the gas to get out, it's gonna come out.
right. Okay. Have they encountered any problems?
Have not counted any problems at all to date. They've only been here a couple of days, so. So that goes. Any other questions on
Any questions of the gas projects?
I think maybe that you say it's gonna be producing more smell. That maybe somebody ought to contact that gentleman that was here that night and make him aware of that.
it? I sat down and talked to him, I told him that.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
had a long conversation with him after the meeting that night.
Okay, good
He
deal.
told him that it was coming sometime in March. Between March and June, the odors may get worse, but we were trying to make it better, and that we were working to do that. I had a conversation with him that night.
No problem.
Because I didn't want him to think that when he got to smell it, more odors
Right.
come, all of a sudden it was getting worse, and it getting better. So, that's why I had that conversation with him that night.
Has he or anyone out there been back in touch with you since then?
I mean,
Okay.
we did notify DHEC yesterday. We had our landfill inspection yesterday, and we did notify DHEC that we would be digging and there would be more odors, and they have notified the switchboard. So they know what's going on, what's happening, so if they get a call, they can tell people.
Okay,
that They're
good.
digging, they're putting in a gas system to get more gas out of the odor away, and so they had notified their switchboard to that effect. So if somebody calls the switchboard, they said they would have the switchboard tell the person
Yeah.
what's going on.
Okay, that was a good idea. Road signs.
So Ms. Creech had asked me to put this on the agenda to discuss the landfill directional signs around the landfill. I did talk to, South Carolina DOT. They wouldn't make any commitment whether they allow signs on the roads. There's certain areas they don't allow signs on. But they said that we needed to figure out where we wanted to locate them at. Get them on a map, get them to them, they'd look at them, and then tell us what kind of signs we need to get the design. Has to be, probably gonna end up being blue, because it's not a state sign. And we'll have to provide all the material to do them and put them down. And then we're liable for maintaining them. We're liable for maintaining those signs as well as, might be getting ready to get hurt on one of them, I guess we'd be liable then too. They just said all liabilities related to the signs would be related to us.
Okay, but they didn't give you an indication that they would put it on their directional signs, getting on and off 22, 501, or any of that? They will not do that.
They said that they wanted us to get a map where we want them, where we wanted to locate them at, and then they would determine whether or not they would allow them to be there. So I talked to the people out of Florence.
The blue signs that you see along interstate are not highway department signs. That's a private company
Okay.
that Bojangles deals with to put that sign up. It's probably gonna boil down, if in fact that's what we're gonna do, that we just have to contact that group and see what they will. They've got the specifications on signs, they'll put them up, we don't have anybody to put them up. So,
So I think the first step we need is for the board to decide whether they want. Once we do that, then I can get a map, locate them on a map, and, send them into Florence. And he said he told me that.
Okay. Do I have a motion to put this on the next board meeting to inform the board, or do I need to just do that?
I just don't think we need them. We got GPS on our phone, we can find a landfill anywhere we need one.
Well, I agree we can, but I think a lot of the public think we're not being forthcoming in letting people know that it's here.
I think you need them, and I think you ought to go ahead and put it on the agenda.
Put it on the agenda.
Yes.
Do I need to do a motion and do that, or can we just, you can just put it on the agenda?
Follow, hanging on to.
And there may be
We can
other-
do it during the board, committee report to the board.
Put it on the, committee report to the board, and then they can decide, because some other people may feel the same way.
Got a lot of people moving in here every day that don't have a clue that the landfill's out here. And if you go back down 90 here on both sides, they building just as hard as they can go. And if a sign was put, just say at 22 and 90, up there maybe, tell them how many miles to come, or so forth and so on, I think it would be well worth its time and a little bit of expense it's gonna cost to get it done.
You'd be amazed how many people don't know that solid waste already assigned out here, there's a landfill line. So I think we probably need one on that sign out there as more as anything.
The one in front out here to say what it is. What really concerned me, the gentleman that was here, I think their housing development, and he had already talked with, the real estate people that were selling houses, and they were under the impression, and there is a thing, that the real estate is supposed to, if there's a nuisance, divulge that. I think what he really was upset about was when he found out that they had gone to the delegation and had one thing that was struck off of what they had to divulge, and it was a landfill. And they didn't really think that was a lot of fair play, and, whether it was or not, that's up to people that are doing that. But I do think, whether it's just us putting it on our sign here, may be sufficient or whatever. But I do understand his concerns and the community's concerns, and there are a lot more people coming out here. They certainly are part of this community. They're going to continue having, many more thousands of people that are going to have a problem with us, with truck traffic, with smell, with different things. Therefore, I think we need to do what we can do to make sure that they do know we're here, and be very open about that. So if we could just, we'll discuss it when I bring up my thing on the board.
I think we need to be good neighbors.
And the other board members can make that decision.
One of my concerns is that if you got one up and somebody don't want it in front of their house, or they trying to sell their property, that sign's gonna disappear.
Yeah, probably will. You're exactly right. And I'm not saying we need to go into a lot of expense and so forth and so on, but maybe we do need to discuss that and let the other board members, think about that and make that decision.
I reckon, I'm just thinking that Horry County, a guy had a piece of property, you got this landfill sign close to a piece of property, they would keep him from selling it.
Well,
gonna make the
Dave,
sign
I'm
go
sure
away.
that is a concern as well. There's no doubt about that. But this landfill now is permitted through all of the things that we're doing now, the money that has been spent from the time it was put here to this. So obviously, the landfill didn't go anywhere. And I think we need to be as open about the fact we're here that we can. All right. Surplus equipment sale.
All right, when we're selling pieces of equipment that we expect to get more than $10,000 out of, if it's below $10,000, Mr. Knight can approve. to dispose of that piece of equipment, but it's more. We have to get a board approval. We have a piece of equipment where we bought a new, a replacement piece of equipment for it. And, now we are asking the board committee to recommend to the board to, approve us to sell that piece of equipment. We do think we're gonna get somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 or 35,000 for it. But we don't know till we put it on gov deals and everybody starts bidding on it. I've seen things that I thought would sell for 35 that sold for twice that, and some things I thought would sell for 35 sold for half of that. So you don't really know till you get on there. I think due to the fact that the truck has no emissions on it, people's gonna wanna buy it. So, especially some of the small garbage haulers. Anyway, it is our oldest, truck that we pick up OCC containers with. And we just need the board's permission to, so we need to vote of the committee to move it on to the board.
Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to take this to the board to get the permission to have that sold?
I make a motion to send them to the board.
Have a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll do that. When we buy a piece of equipment that's expensive, $1 million and whatever, and we use it the life of that, what is, curiosity, the general selling price of those things?
It ranges based on different pieces of equipment. Compactor, we normally have a buyback on those from Caterpillar, and they'll pay us about $275,000 for one, and then they take it back. But that's part of that TM&R, Total Maintenance and Repair,
Okay,
program. Because they've maintained it, they're willing to buy it. If you got one that doesn't have the TM&R on it, it's based on a piece of equipment. The market, what it is at the time, the demand,
Name brand.
name
yeah, name
brand.
brand on it, what
It's
it
got-
would be.
It's got a lot of ranges. And we typically put we say we're gonna keep it for 5 years, and on our depreciation schedule, we think it's gonna be worth $20,000 at the end.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying? So we
Yeah.
do that when we depreciate our equipment. So we say, well, we're gonna use it for 5 years, and we'll have 10,000 hours on it. And a diesel engine typically or truck, is typically about 10,000 hours you can get on a piece of equipment before you start having major problems with it.
yeah,
Or you have to do a certain amount of repairs to it. So the 10,000 hours is the key. We've had some bulldozers that had 8,000 hours on them, and we didn't turn them back in because we didn't buy something, and we wanted to fully utilize them before we sold them. Well, the sale price will be more if it's got lower hours on it, and Sam knows that, than it would be if it had 10,000 hours on it.
yeah.
So, that range, it just changes on the piece of equipment. And everything goes on gov deals that we sell. So everybody across the world, we've had people from Georgia buy them. We sold a forklift to somebody in South America. I'm right here and picked it up and left with it. Transmission was blown up in it, and they still paid $20,000 for it.
Wow.
Let's broaden the discussion on the truck that we're selling. Mike says a lot of people don't be, probably look at it because it had no emissions on it. I don't want anybody in the TV world to think that we run the truck without exhaust systems and trucking, that it hasn't got all the regens and all that gas on them.
It wasn't built on it when you bought it.
And a lot of people will buy, rebuild the engine to get away from the problems they're having with the emission control. I mean, I think that's one of the problems we had with the Cat Compact. They just couldn't keep the engines running because of that system that regened and cleaned the exhaust fumes and that stuff out. And if you're going down the highway and you see a new truck coming and black smoke pouring out of it, that system regenerating and burning all that stuff out of the big muffler type thing. So that's what he's talking about. It had no emissions on it.
Okay, I got you. Any other questions about the truck?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we're at roundtable discussion. Is there anything anyone wants to bring up and discuss, as well as, we will be having one final operations meeting in this July period. So is there anything either of y'all would like to have on here to look at, for them to show us, for them to discuss, or to bring up into that next meeting that Mr. Benzett will be putting together, not this coming month, but it'll be the next?
Come up with anything, just let
I
Ms.
gave you
Chris
a
know.
couple of things at the board, budget, so that you could write them down. Those two things I would like to go on there. And as we progress, and after this board meeting, you know, I may have a couple other ones, as well as the update on the gas and where we are with 1187, of course.
And I'll probably we'll probably keep the board updated at the board meetings before that on
Okay.
the projects.
Okay. And if you think of anything, within the landfill that you're working on that you would like for the board to be aware of, good, bad, or ugly, we'd like to hear it.
Well, we got a busy time, the next few months, years. Especially busy the next few months, because we got 4 construction projects going on at the same time, plus we have to do the daily operations, so
Okay.
it's a busy time. Keep an eye on everything that's going on and what's going, but we can do it, and we'll come out.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Knight, you got anything you need to add before we?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Mr. Ives?
Madam Chairman, a topic that's dear to your heart, I think you have an announcement to make about e-waste that everyone should be aware of.
That was, I got a call about that yesterday from Mr. Knight, and he's done such an excellent job with us discussing all of that. Would you like to inform the people here about where we are on our e-waste bill?
I got a call from, our folks in Columbia that, the e-waste extension, was approved in the state Senate and the House Senate. Hopefully it'll go to the floor next week, with no opposition. So it's kind of like, at least we've got those 2 committees kind of the era now that, where they'll understand what's going on, when they ever get something back in front of them.
Congratulations, Danny. I attribute that success to you.
Yeah.
They have their help with this e-waste situation. Mike and I sat in one with, Product Stewardship Institute last week, and they talking about a different stage now of packaging. It's got, the companies have got to take responsibility for cardboard and plastic and paper bags and everything. I said, Mike, in this spring, some states are looking at packaging, and we can't even get them state to look at TVs.
Yeah, to get it paid for through
Where
that.
the producers, manufacturers have got some responsibility for them.
But I commend you and our lobbyists and the people that got that in front of them and got that done.
Well, and I have to give William Bailey so much credit,
Yes.
because when we started this process, we did contact our delegation members, and William stepped up, and of course, he was on the Ag Committee,
Yeah.
and he took a liking to it, or understood what it was costing the citizens of Overy County to get rid of TVs and electronics. And, you know, the manufacturers are gonna fight it. My statement to DHEC was, we know they're gonna fight anything that's put up, so let's just put up what we want, more than what we want, because they're gonna nip at it and tuck at it and cut on it.
Yeah.
And some of the lobbyists will get to the folks, and they'll bend a little bit, cut a little bit out, so we
Yeah.
know how it works.
But I think you really took the ball and you kept right on with it and got it through this thing, and I appreciate that, because that is something that not only did I want to do and participated in the e-waste, but I want to do on the other manufacturing things that we have here to continue on in that light, because in my opinion, that needs to be done.
And we got, David Huck sent me something that he had on his blog site,
Yeah,
referencing it, and he took that information that we sent him and did a pretty good
good.
understanding of it, and, so he's,
I'm glad he was here that night and was interested in that.
and
I
I'll
got
make
that.
anybody a copy of that wants to see it.
Thank you. Thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll set a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it.